crime seems to have taken the world by storm. Everyone's fascinated with infamous killers like Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, and Ted Bundy. But here in West Virginia, we had one of our own. His name was Harry Powers. He was one of the first men in modern history to be labeled a serial killer. His chilling crimes here in the 1930s still haunt this region nearly a century later. Over the next 3 reports, we dive deep into the story of Harry Powers. You'll hear about the love letters that he sent to lonely women and learn about the grim discovery that was made right here at this very spot in Quiet Dell. We'll also tell you about his theatrical trial and eventual execution. This is a story of deception, horror, and a small town forever marked by the Bluebeard of Quiet Dell.
Mid-hills of West Virginia fair, near village Quiet Dell.
Quiet Dell, West Virginia, a tiny unincorporated town in Harrison County, just outside of Clarksburg. It's barely a bend in the road, but in 1931, it would become the stage for one of the most disturbing murder cases in American history. The man at the center didn't look like a monster, but behind his wire-rimmed glasses and polite smile, his secrets were unspeakable.
His real name was Harm Drenthe, and he was born in the Netherlands. They immigrated to America. They arrived here in 1910, and by that point, he was 17 years old, and he was already a petty criminal over there. And when he got here, he began stealing liquor and automobiles and getting immediately in trouble with the law.
The 1930s brought heartache to the lives of many West Virginians. The Great Depression and the struggles found in the mining communities nearly brought the state to its knees.
Discouragement, fear, failure. Only a few years ago, these stalked the nation. Depression haunted America.
But for Harry Powers, the turmoil was an opportunity. Instead of hardship, he saw a way to exploit loneliness.
And in 1931, it's not that easy to be a woman in the United States trying to function independently. Powers had been traveling around the United States, committing frauds and maybe murdering people for a number of years. Something brought him to Clarksburg, I don't think anybody really knows what.
Through matrimonial ads and Lonely Hearts Clubs, he hunted for victims, widows, divorcees, women desperate for connection and financial stability. Hundreds of letters poured from his pen, his words sweet, charming, and laced with deadly lies of his wealth.
He had a great career, and the only reason he didn't go out and meet people in person was because he was so busy in his career. He didn't have time for dating. And he had a 10-room stone ranch that if they would only marry him, he would sweep them away to a world of luxury.
I was always interested in the Harry Powers murder.
Town historian Martha Jett grew up surrounded by stories of Harry Powers.
Growing up in Harrison County, you heard about Harry Powers all the time.
While reading The Love Murders of Harry Powers, she came across a page that stopped her in her tracks and confirmed a family story that had been passed down for generations.
And we'd always heard that Harry Powers had approached Aunt Minnie and was trying to strike up a relationship with her, and that they wrote one another little notes and everything, and Aunt Minnie had the notes and she kept them. Well, she gave them to my grandfather, but they burned up in a house fire. So I heard this story all my life. So I'm reading this book and I come here to this paragraph that says, there is evidence that Powers corresponded with 2 other women in Clarksburg, West Virginia. As in a trash pile near the death garage, the officers found a portion of a letter signed Mrs. Minnie, and they don't give the last name, Clarksburg, West Virginia. I can't help but think that had to have been my great aunt.
In 1927, Powers met Luella Strother while responding to a Lonely Heart ad.
Yes, Luella Strother, commonly called Lulu.
Lulu owned a farm in Quiet Dell and a general store in Clarksburg just a few miles away.
One thing led to another. She began writing him these really sickly, syrupy letters. She called him her darling, or Dolly Dimple Sugar Lump.
Strother and Powers eventually married. He moved in with his bride, her mother, and her sister at their home in Quiet Dell. When Lulu's mother died, he saw his chance, an opportunity to seize control.
So the first thing he does is to get the sister and his wife to sign over everything into his name. She was basically the kind of person that was like, you're the husband, so whatever you say has got to be right.
But even marriage couldn't curb his insatiable hunger for long-distance love affairs. His Lonely Heart scam continued, with more than 100 women writing to him.
There are so many letters coming in that the post office box overflows, and the postal people have to keep the balance of his stuff in a box back behind the desk.
One day he tells his unsuspecting wife that he wants to build a concrete garage on the property.
She doesn't ask questions. So he has the garage built, and the ground floor is a garage. You drive your car into the garage, but there's also, and he designed this himself, there's also a heavy trap door that lifts up, goes down the stairs into 4 almost soundproof concrete rooms.
With his trap now meticulously set, it was time to lure in the women who had fallen for his lies of love and luxury. Using the name Cornelius O. Pearson, just one of a nearly dozen aliases he was known to use, Powers began writing to Asta Eicher, a widowed mother of 3 who lived in Park Ridge, Illinois, a suburb just north of Chicago.
He sees her as a really likely prospect, so they correspond back and forth, and he basically lets her know he wants to marry her and how handsome and wealthy he is and all this stuff. And she falls for it, and he goes to see her in Illinois.
Once he arrived, the couple soon left town while Eicher's children, 14-year-old Greta, 12-year-old Harry, and 9-year-old Annabelle stayed behind with a neighbor. Several days later, the neighbor received a letter from Eicher that said Pearson would be coming back to Illinois alone to pick up the children.
He goes back later on, and he tells the oldest girl that he wants her to take this note down to the bank and get all of the money out that they have. And the kids had their own little bank books with their own little savings. He wanted that too. But they would not give her the money at the bank because the letter was not, they have a sample of Asta's handwriting. It is not her handwriting. They will not release the money. So he's like, we got to get out of here.
No money in hand as planned, he loaded up the 3 children in his car and took off.
And that was the last anybody saw of them.
But Powers wanted more. 3 weeks later, Cornelius O. Pearson arrived in Northborough, Massachusetts to meet the woman of a long and passionate correspondence, 50-year-old Dorothy Lemke. They were set to marry in Iowa, where he claimed to live. On the way out of town, Lemke withdrew $4,000 from her bank. She apparently didn't notice or become concerned that her fiancé asked her to send her belongings to West Virginia.
Takes her away from Massachusetts, last anybody ever saw her.
She'd arrive in Quiet Dell, ushered into the garage that would soon become known as the murder farm.
Upon this scene a place was built, away from sight and sound, with gallows in the upper part and prisons underground.
It's just a fascinating story. I don't think the story will ever die from this area. It'll always be known as the murder farm. That's just what it's always been.
The garage and the house that used to sit here are long gone. But in 1931, this ground held a dark secret that no one in Quiet Dell could have imagined. Before long, a chance investigation would bring Harry Powers' crimes to light and send a town and a nation into shock.